easy here. And I have been thinking for a long time how to do social science in these times particularly. This question has been haunting me for a long time, and that's why I wrote that book. So anyway, let me begin. I again and again congratulate Susmita for writing this wonderful book. This book opens a window to look into your neighborhood next door, Munirika village. That has a love and hate relationship with JNU students. Because I have been here and we always go to Munirika and we want to learn about that, and we are very, very intrigued and also feel disgusted but also enchanted with these spaces. And so she takes us, all of us, into the journey of Munirika. So we have to look this village through her eyes and theoretical lens she uses. Using vernacular rent as a concept, key analytics, this book is keen on doing a small political economy in the world of big theory. This book brings with vernacular categories of kinship and land. She shows how Bhaichara as a brotherhood enables various ethnic groups to stake control over land and land rents in the Laldura settlements. By giving vernacular categories their due place within urban theory, this book pushes back against influential theories such as accumulation by dispossessions and gentrification theory, which she argues conceal around a more planetary global perspective. The ethnography on the workings of vernacular rent reveals how land control is embedded in family, kinship, and community ties. Furthermore, the Bhaichara mediated kabja of land means that these in between urban villages are here to stay. They are neither entirely disappearing or not eaten by the global real estate pressures. In short, the concept of vernacular rent reveals how community-controlled rent shapes urbanization through processes that defy the easy and taken for granted binaries of city-village. Through the explication of vernacular rent, this book reveals to us the working of capitalism in India, or in Delhi, or urban villages where forms of accumulation in India or post-colonial societies or every society work on very different logics, or I would say then different for global capital, or in the same way as they work everywhere. And now, this is the where I think crux lies, as she clarified in the end what to do with the small case studies, how we look at it. That's why I'm quite excited about this book. In a series of ethnographically and archivally rich chapters, the book charts out contested terrain of value, property, and city making in Delhi's urban village, along with caste and village. The first three chapters are chronologically taking us through the uneven and legally ambiguous histories and geographies of kabja or control during the land acquisition and land reform period of late 1950s and 1960s. The diversification of urban village, the Jat community into urban rent-thick sectors such as the construction and transportation during the License Raj regime of 1960s and 70s. Chapter 2 and finally into the post-liberalization period. This is all, if you have looked at the book, then you see how she come to the new liberalization from the 1950s. The next cluster of chapters delve into the contested and exclusive workings of the community control ground rent. Chapter 4 explores community institutions such as the Panchayat, Kunba, and committees that consolidate the real estate market, create channels of credit, networks as well as prevent demolitions through mobilizing the close affinities of family and kinship networks. And that's one of my favorite chapter, if I say. And then these institutions led double life by taking on modern organization form, such as the resident welfare associations that are viewed as civilized institutions within the urban public sphere, but also functioning as informal panchayat and shadow economies that are illegal to the both state and go to global capital. Chapter 5 explores the racialized and gendered politics of boundaries and belonging in these community control that land market, as landlords are both dependent on tenants who are other but hostile to them. Chapter 6 look at the fringes of the cartel as marginalized Dalits become landlord in the urban village. This is another fantastic chapter to read, to learn how communities are formed and what does it mean to be Dalit in the kind of urban economy, particularly underbelly of, Delhi or Mumbai. I think Pradeep is sitting here, is extraordinary work on the Dharavi. So interesting. Here this book breaks down the composite categories of caste and shows us how jatis jostle with one another in these urbanizing spaces. That specifically focuses on equivocal position of jatas who, through complex historical relationship, despite having faced untouchability, consider jat as par with themselves. This questions and this ethnography, this chapter questions ideal type of categories such as Dalits and their historical development. In a precarious real estate market, the Jats extend new forms of solidarity and protection to the Jatas, so closely tied with the Jat. Identity begins to fray, and we see how the vocabulary of community solidarity has to undergo a whole different set of calisthenics to adapt to narrative of the Jatas. Dalit mobility via rentier forms of landlordism, however, have been extremely uneven, with the Dalit community of Valmikis being unable to engage in kabza and or control, capture of their own rent. Chapter 8 received the earlier themes on the dual life of community institution by looking at how the principle of bhaichara has traveled from older Kha panchayats, from the political mobilization to urban electoral politics. As with my thoughts, with any thought-provoking book, Properties of Rent leaves reader with a few unanswered questions. These questions come to my mind since I like the book. So they are not challenging the book. In fact, they provoke a lot of your book, generate a lot of questions, and I think demands various interpretations. You do small political economy, and I'm a small man, I will ask you to reflect on 3 or 4 questions in this world of big people. What attracts me here?
We can't hear you properly. Can you speak from the mic?
I'm trying, but I'm not a very good speaker. So you have to bear with me. But let us see. Maybe I can do it better. Because we are habitual of putting, fixing it. So anyway, so please, I will try now better. There was summary of the book, and already Susmita told better than me, but I thought it's good to have a summary in front of you so that we can engage certain questions. So that was nothing new than what Susmita has told. But let us now bear with me. The questions, I think, maybe generate more interesting debate, which I'm trying to raise now. What attracts me here is the debate around the urban and rural divide, and my own works deal with it. And your book contributes immensely to growing scholarship on the need to transgress the inherited disciplinary silos of agrarian urban studies if one is to fully grasp the complexities of Indian capitalism. So basically, the point what I'm trying to put together, and which we all familiar, the point is that how to bring into books and theoretical debate is that how to breach these or transgress the existing binaries in European theory, which is such as the urban and rural, and there are various binaries. I don't want to go into that, but there is all these modern, traditional, so many work which is taken for granted, and also we keep building up our knowledge and everyday common sense around these binaries, and which is so natural also and so spontaneous, like us and they or us, rural and urban, city and village. Okay, so how we understand these binaries is a possibility to make a bridge between them, and so this book does very well. But now let us come to that. The first question is around the concept of vernacular rent vis-a-vis global capital. Unlike other community control forms of market governance in the global south that manage to scale up and align with global capital, such as the mercantile capitalism of the Marwaris and the Gounder-controlled native industrial cluster of Tripur. If you're aware of Surachari's work, why does land and property in the urban village remain intensely localized? So one of the questions comes here, why it has not gone global? Unlike the West, where real estate assets are traded on the basis of akin to any of the other financial stock or blend, and market in India have not been transformed into fungible assets. One explanation for these vicious land market is the historical conjecture of the Green Revolution. But perhaps the raft of the post-independence land laws, including land ceilings, were enacted to disincentivize the conversions of the agricultural productivity, land into real estate, and to further the Green Revolution imperatives of increasing food production. I would like you to reflect on it a little bit more. For example, what is the difference if you say why rise of OBCs or politics in South is very different than North? That was also the question tied with that. The way capital become global and certain communities become globalized there, and then why certain has become very localized. These are one, if you can reflect that. It's more than a question, kind of a discussion if we can. Second, as I was reading the book, I was left craving for more details on the production of urban vernacular rent and formal master planning processes that facilitated the making of these vicious real estate markets in the urban context. For instance, the book reminds us that if we wish to understand the evolution of these villages, the 1963 circular is at the heart of it. The circular in the, am I audible now? Is better?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you. I made progress. Okay, the circular in the backdrop of Delhi Master Plan and exempted villages of Delhi from building bylaws. A stronger explication of the conjectural drive of the 1963 legal exceptions to the Delhi Master Plan would have been extremely insightful in understanding why it was necessary for the state to retain these post-marketed jurisdictions within the city as villages, even though they had ceased to be sites of food production by 1950. Here comes the question of what the state does and doesn't do, or what the state decides not to act upon. Could you please reflect more on the state-society relationship? So what is important, what I learned from here, why suddenly, this so much powerful state who's trying to make a master plan, it itself called master plan, why they don't want to touch the villages, certain villages? And why do certain things? So and I think this is very important, what the state does, what doesn't do, or what they decided to do overnight and they don't do forever. So that I think is also important to bring into this debate, and if you kindly reflect on that. Third, you argue that ethnically bound communities of Bhaichara get reshaped by stretching their contour into the community that is relevant in the market economy. That's fantastic, I like it. And yet, throughout the book, there has been a keen insight on the inability of Bhaichara norms to understand, to transcend, inability of Bhaichara norms to transcend the urban-rural divide, such as the case of Parliament 360. You have given a very good example of they were not interested in any kind of debate regarding reservation or anything. They were so self-contained about their other stuff. Though the crisis of joblessness resonate across agrarian urban economies, these economic anxieties have not unable to force a just Jat identity across urban-rural divide or short-lived during the recent farmer protest. A deeper understanding of how and why urban-rural jurisdictional boundaries fracture the Jat community has larger political implications, not least because of the equivocal position of the OBCs within the BJP's standard majoritarian agenda. I would like to hear more about it, what makes ethnic categories work and not work. Because you are telling a story how it works, but why the certain context they work and they don't work simultaneously. So it's very contradictory. If they do, then how they do work, and as we saw in the recent farmers movement and its afterwards, they were very short-lived. Now, we are asking to each other similar questions. Okay, so and last, you very well offer refreshing methodological and theoretical insight on doing a small political economy in the service of answering the biggest and most urgent land questions of the day. How should we understand this book? You also pose the same question. I'm also posing the same question. And why I'm posing to you as well as to them, because they are it's a very, very vibrant audience here. So I don't have answer, but we are discussing it. And why? Let me put it now. How shall we understand this book? Is it another case study in Global South? As sweetening and self-elating terminology as it is, or it is imposed on us, because sometimes we are called Orientalists, sometimes we are called Orientalism, Oriental, sometimes we are called South Asia, sometimes we are called Global South. Why our titles are keep changed? Who decide these categories? This is one. Okay, let us go one more. Or is this book testing the global theories of urbanization and rent by using local data? In other words, how does a concept like vernacular rent help us? The use of this concept does not feed into global theories and imperialism while reducing the local into vernacular or self into vernacular. So we have already, it seems to me, maybe provoking, are we not resigning ourselves saying that we are vernacular or we are local? I think same question I think Susmita asked, I'm asking very differently. We immediately accept we are vernacular or we are local or we are Global South. So why we are that? I don't know where it comes from. Why suddenly when you make it caste table, if you read all sociological books, you see there is an upper caste, there is a middle caste, there is a lower caste. Why this order exists and why we accept it and reproducing in a knowledge production? I don't know. I'm asking you because we are a student, probably I'm teacher, or I don't know whether we are both, all sides are students, I don't know that. But let us open this debate. Why we accept that terminology? Okay. My understanding is that Swiss farmers neither call themselves global nor vernacular. They are just farmers. This question always haunts me, how to do social science in India or in these times when so many young men and women are sitting here craving to write in their mother and regional languages, I'm not here to debate regional languages versus English debate. My point is, like the Swiss farmers can automatically be both global and local. Then global local or vernacular. To simplify, there are two sets of questions here, methodologically and cultural economy, which are not mutually exclusive. So, I'm adding to your debate is that when you talk, you have taken the rent as a category. I want to support your thesis in the saying that my experience is that I think all economies across the world are turning into the rentier economies. And so it's not about India. So I think that I hope I made the sense of this question through taking a detour, how we understand that. I end it here because we have colleagues also waiting for his turn. Thank you very much, and I'm sorry if I was not audible because I think there's sometimes combination between me and I think I'm more habitual like speaking without mic. Thank you.